We will move on to discussion 2. This is a special session. In the discussion 1, we talked about certain trade-related challenges. And in one of the presentations, we did see a bold mention about even default. But in most of the presentations, we have seen challenges on the shipping being mentioned very prominently. So the discussion title is Dealing with Sesame Trade Challenges, Lessons Learned and the Way Forward. We have two presenters, Mr. Afolabi Hakim, who is the head of supply chain of Starling Global and Ideal, Nigeria, unfortunately could not join us because of the last-minute challenges. But we are fortunate to have him online. So we will first have him address the gathering via online. And then I will call the second speaker, Mr. Aziz Mania from Midtrans International. So over to the first speaker, Mr. Afolabi Hakim. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I know you all agree with me that sesame is one of the golden cash crops commodity from Africa, which has really been generating huge revenue for both the exporting and importing countries, right? Nigeria is not left out. Thank you for having me. My name is Afolabi Hakim, Head of Logistics Department, Starling Global and Ideal Limited. I'll be speaking to you today about the sesame seed challenges in Nigeria, with focus on shipping and logistics and contract performance. What to expect at the end of this session includes an overview of Nigerian sesame trade and challenges and the way forward. Nigeria is the 5th largest exporter of sesame seed in the world, the 3rd largest in Africa. In Nigeria, we currently cultivate sesame in 26 out of 36 states of the Federation. We now produce above 450,000 metric tons of sesame. Our major destinations include China, Japan, Turkey, South Korea, and Vietnam. Overview of Nigeria's shipping and logistics. Shipping and logistics is one of the fastest growing industries, valued at $700 million. This thought is at nascent stage. This is the initial stage, which means it has potential to grow bigger and better. It is also ranked 112th in the Logistics Performance Index. 97% of our exports from Nigeria is through the waterways, and 88% of these exports are conducted through Apapa ports. We trade sesame trade, we trade the following as derivatives of sesame from Nigeria: the cleaned sesame, hulled sesame, and as well as sesame oil. Some of the challenges we are having currently include production and processing, shipping and logistics, and contract performance. As regards the production and shipping challenges, it's because Nigerians still practice a traditional way of farming. This has really limited our potential to do more than what we're supposed to be doing. Also, just recently, African Development Bank, in collaboration with the Central Bank of Nigeria, are now encouraging small-scale farmers to go mechanization through funding and other mechanisms. Also, because of the high cost of processing facilities, and people are unable to have access to big funds, Nigerian people are unable to go into processing. Shipping and logistics challenges. This is where Nigeria used to be in the past. We used to have deplorable road network, but recently the present government has really embarked on construction of new roads and also maintaining the previous ones. This has allowed people to move their goods from Kano down to Lagos through road and also rail system is now working, which has also allowed them to move their goods through rail directly to Apapa Port. Apapa Port is now connected by rail, so you can actually move your goods from Kano to Lagos and other destinations. For port and shipping line, we used to have port congestion in the past, but with intervention of federal government and also agencies like Nigerian Port Authority and other relevant agencies, these are drastically reduced. For those that did business in 2020, 2021, if they compare to what we've been doing in 2022, they will know that there have been great improvements with port congestion and with the government effort as well to open up other ports like Lekki's Deep Sea Port by December. They've promised to open that by December. More export businesses will be done. Contract performance, the major problem with contract performance, while people have been defaulting in their contract, is because of the initial mentioned problems, port congestion and other problems of logistics. So, but with these improvements, less people will be defaulting on contracts. That can be assured. Where we are presently in Nigeria, Nigeria has a better and improved road network and rail system. As I aforementioned, you can now move your goods from Lagos to different destinations through rail. And also with connection with Apapa that has been connected by rail, you can now move down. Kano is like Sesame hub in Nigeria where you can actually trade, load, and move your goods directly to the port. Improved ports and shipping line services. The shipping lines and ports agencies have also been falling in line because everybody wants the business to grow in Nigeria. Government has also promised to open Lekki Seaport by the end of this year. Also recently, Ministry of Agriculture distributed a high-yielding and disease-resistant seed to smallholder farmers. This is to further develop our production so that we can have high-yielding and resistant farmers so that we can increase our yield per hectare. Also, African Development Bank has recently approved some amount of money, which is amounts to about $134 million loan for the National Agriculture Growth Scheme. Some of the growth strategies we like to adopt apart from the ones that government has done is we need to actually develop new high-yielding and disease-resistant seeds varieties with better yield per hectare apart from the ones that the Ministry of Agriculture has been doing. So we need more participations of private sector. Private sectors will come in form of funds to the farmers and also as well as improved farming techniques. They also need to be sensitizing farmers in the case of farming techniques so that they can adopt new mechanized farming. Also, we need more access to funds by the farmers. Apart from what the government is doing, private sectors also needs to come into aid of the farmers so that we can have improved and more production. For shipping and logistics, governments have started constructing many roads, amounted to about 13,000 kilometers of road have been embarked on by this present administration. So that has really reduced the problem of moving goods from one part to the other in the country. We also have alternative. Apart from, we can now use barges and rail. Barges have been what the exporters have been adopting about 3-4 years ago, which has drastically reduced the rate of theft and also the blockage of the road. Everybody here also needs to be talking and putting pressure on shipping lines and other agencies to reduce their freight, especially shipping lines to reduce their freight, so that, and also the transit period to destination so that we can actually do our business free. Dedicated export terminal is one of the things we've been talking to government about, and they have promised to do something about it. So we are hopeful that very soon we will have a dedicated export terminal. Nigerian can do more, that I will be doing that will be doing only the export business. Nigerians will go a long way, and we can improve our share market in the global market. Progress graph for Apapa Port using Starlink shipment as a case study. This progress graph is between 2021 October and 2022 July. We've loaded about 3,000 40-foot containers, for both cashew and cocoa and sesame as well. So in 2021 October, we used to be having, between the loading period from our warehouse and the shipped on board date, we used to have about 44 days interval. But you can see as the graph progresses downwardly, now we have only 15 days period between the loading from our warehouse as well as loading of the vessel on board, loading of the containers on board vessel. On contract performance, what I would like this gathering to focus on is how to establish an organization to develop a unified framework for sesame seed, contract harmonization, arbitration, and stakeholders sensitization. I would like this gathering to do something we do in cocoa. In cocoa, we have an organization called FCC, that is a Federation of Cocoa Commerce, which controls the contractual agreement. In case of arbitration, they mediate. In case of any issue between the buyer and the seller, it is the FCC that mediates. If we can have something like that too in sesame, that will go a long way in solving the problems of contract defaults by both parties. And it is not only the exporters that default, buyers still default if they don't pay on time, and also trying to take advantage of the seller as well. So buyers also need to pay promptly, so that this, because it is bi-directional business, you have to pay your part, I pay my part. So if the buyers are defaulting on time payment, so that will greatly affect the business. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Afolabi Hakim, for suggesting a very, very bold suggestion it was. We need to standardize a contract. Do we have standardized contract as it is today in cross-border trade? And do we agree with Mr. Afolabi, when he suggests we need to standardize the contract? Okay, let's think about it. As we think, we request the next speaker, Mr. Aziz Mania from Midtrans International, to please come on stage and share with us some of the challenges which they have faced and how they have successfully overcome, and also the lessons learned. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a very typical topic for today. It's nothing about statistics and all that. And I really had to think a lot. I went back thinking a couple of years back on the challenges that we faced last couple of years and how to put it down. Just a brief introduction about our company. We are in the trade since now almost 40 years, and we do different varieties of sesame seeds. What were the challenges that we have faced over the past 2 years in exporting sesame out of any country, or let's say in the agro industry? It's the same for other agro industries as well as sesame. First, the pandemic has shaped new future for logistics. The cost of doing business has drastically gone up. After the first wave of COVID-19, there had to be a contingency plan, and everyone was doing, let's say, handling it in a different way. Some of the key challenges that we faced, which I think, which probably everyone faced, was the difficulty to cut transport costs. The freight, the transport costs has been increasing every day. And in our costing, the overhead of logistics and transport has gone way overhead. Then what happened actually, after the pandemic happened, and after the pandemic, the country started locking down. Shipping companies started reducing their number of vessels and voyages, creating in shortages of containers. Containers were lying in this port, containers lying in the Chinese port. The Chinese, of course, wanted more containers to get products out of their country. The containers were lying in other ports. And because of lockdown, there were lesser truck drivers available, resulting in increase in transportation costs once again. But after the world started opening up, the supply chain was disturbed. There were shortages of almost everything all around the world. Countries started buying products because there were no products in their shelves, in their stores. And due to the shortage of vessels and high demand, the shipping lines started raising their freight prices, which was resulting in the cost of the cost of freight going up by almost about 2 to 3 folds. And this high freight remained high for almost about 20 months or so. We hope there are some corrections which we can see from now on. Then Russia and Ukraine conflict started. As a result, oil prices went up. And again, the freight started going up. Exports out of these two countries started dwindling. The products were not going out of these two countries, and which resulted again in shortages. Hopefully now some shipments have started out of Ukraine. Hopefully the world gets more products. Then the cost of finance started going up, which is a challenge, which resulted in a lot of currency fluctuations. So it has become really very difficult to do one's costing. Every day the cost changes. For an exporter, every day the cost changes. And today also we were discussing here that the costs are changing every day. And we don't know, a cost that an exporter is giving today is going to work tomorrow or not. Especially in the third world countries, currency fluctuations is creating a problem. So these are some of the things which I feel are the challenges. Maybe I left out something, which I'm sure we can discuss. What were the lessons that we have learned? What are the lessons and the way forward? Most of the exporters have started offering on FOB basis because freight was a challenge. We assume speculation reduced to some extent, but did we learn the human mind forgets very easily? After COVID, people have started going back their old ways, so speculation still is going on. Last couple of years have been erratic, and we have to plan more carefully. Then again, there are natural disasters which occur, which are the unforeseen events which happens. I was just discussing with Mr. Reinecke an hour ago that most of the growing areas of sesame is in Asia. And most of the buying is done in Asia as well. In the, let's say, in the West, Europe, USA, etc., let's say the total quantity which they buy is around probably about 200,000 tons out of about 1.5 million tons of trade, which goes on around all over the world. The rest is bought, let's say, China is million tons, probably 1.1, 1.2 million tons. And then the rest is, there's the Japanese market, there's the Middle East market, there's the Far East market. All this is in Asia. The lessons that we need to do is this 200,000 ton market is not something small. We need to cater to those 200,000 markets. We need to focus on our growing strategy of the needs which the Europeans and the US want. Because eventually these needs is going to come into Asia as well. So we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared how we grow the product, how much better yield we can get, what sort of seeds we use. So these are some of things which we need to go forward. And I would also like to put this to the audience here. If Mr. Srivas allows, we can have a small interactive session on what they think, what they can share their thoughts of their experience, which happened since last couple of years, and how to move forward. Thank you very much.
Excellent, sir. For the suggestion, may I request you to be there. And perhaps we have the best person here, Mr. Tarun Chawla. The question is, last 2 years has been very challenging, and you operate pretty much out of every origin. What are some of the things which you have learned and which you have incorporated in your business? Just as a sharing process, as a knowledge sharing process, maybe, if you'd like to share.
See, well, it's a very open-ended question in terms of, one thing is for sure is uncertainties are here to stay. Every day we get up and things change in terms of pricing and market outlook. So it's very difficult to position yourself for the next 2 months, 3 months. So one thing which we have learned is at least we position ourselves for 2 weeks, 1 week. Agility is very important. Shorter cycle time in terms of decision making. And another thing which is very important is we cannot ignore what is happening in the ecosystem. Interest rates are going up. Cycle times are challenged in sesame industry because buying, origination, cleaning, shipment, it takes all time. So we have to be mindful of the changing world order system also, the ecosystem also, and the uncertainty index has been very high. So I think most of the people during the panel discussion also said that we are almost by end of August here, and everybody is so worried about the weather. Pakistan is a classic example. So I think you cannot form an opinion or a view or a business decision for 2 months or 3 months. It has become such a small, short time. And then your environment, which is COVID happened, then the conflict happened. So it's a very difficult environment for anyone to, make a planning. So the only thing which you can learn is the next day something will change. We don't know. We can hope for that. But one thing is that you need to prepare your team, your people, that tomorrow it will be a new start. So currency is a very fluctuating factor. We've seen currency devaluate in Asia, Chinese currency devaluated, Pakistan currency devaluated humongously, and I think it is an all-time low. Indian currency did go down, but then it is stable from there. We've had Nigeria, which is coming up, has been a very volatile in terms of currency. It's very difficult in some environments to take a hedge against it. So have an open exposure on that, which can go either ways. Sometimes it can benefit you, but it can, in most of the time, it will not. So it's very difficult environment as we speak today in terms of logistics. Freights have gone up, currency has been fluctuating. Everything which can go wrong has gone wrong, actually. So, but still, the industry is very resilient, and I must say that we still have that 2 million happening. So people are trying their best, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have anybody in the edible oil industry here, just a comment on, because if the inputs are becoming so expensive and also so volatile and unpredictable, how are they managing the sesame related challenges when they go into any value added product, not only oil, maybe tahina, halwa? Any other perspective, any other comments before we close? Anybody would like to share? It's for your good, like, if you can share some of the things, like, we all get to benefit from your learnings. Maybe I think, like, we reserve that for, any questions for our speaker from Starlink who has shared a very useful thought that we need to standardize contracts. And he has also put very interesting, yes, Convol trading. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Nobody was paying attention to you, so I thought maybe I should just ask some questions from the experienced people who are here. I asked the same question in 2019, and a lot of people second me on this. How do you see sesame seed being supplied to the people who are not affording that expensive item? The prices are increasing every day. We do not see sesame coming down. So how can you make this affordable for the people who are not eating sesame, or how can we market to them if this product is not cheaper?
You see, sesame is not a staple food. See, it's used, as a, probably, if I'm correct, Mr. Tarun, it's used as a flavor to enhance the flavor. It's oil is used probably as a healthy oil. So I don't think that market we can reduce the price. The only way to reduce the price is to increase the crop. If the crop is better, of course, over the past, let's say we see 10 years, the consumption of sesame has increased. The market trends, the eating habits have changed, and which has resulted in the quantities increased, the trade increased a lot. But still, there are some of the things, because since it's mostly grown in Asia and Africa, these two continents, they need to address the growing techniques. Like we've seen from Paul, what they are doing in Burkina Faso is they're doing wonders. But then again, Mother Nature, nobody can control Mother Nature. So of course we are trying. Like in Pakistan, we have switched over to hybrid seeds. The yields are much better. But again, this year, those yields have come down. The plantations have been bigger, but the yields have come down. So I think Mr. Tarun can have a better perspective and a better reply to that.
I think you've answered it pretty well. It's a very resilient demand, and it's a very, so in China or Japan, pricing between $1,000 even on $1,800, we've not seen a decline in demand. Even at $1,800, we have seen increase in demand. So pricing has a less function because it's a very flavoring oil, it's a very niche commodity. And even in your supermarkets, if you're buying a 500 ml bottle, if it costs you $5 or $8, you will still going to end up buying it, right? And that's a big differential. But having said that, I think yields are a major concern in sesame industry. We cannot ignore the fact that sesame can benefit, as a farmer in Africa can benefit a lot if they get a high yielding seed. And that was the same question for Brazil also, because if you're producing only 600 kgs per hectare, you will not be able to sustain your earnings per hectare. Even if you sell at $1,500, your total realization is almost per hectare $900. $900 per hectare, your input costs are high, your land leases costs are high, then you're competing with corn and soya bean. It will not sustain. So the yields definitely is an area which is a big concern, and I think in this conference we have something which needs to be, we are all look forward to that presentation, because how high yielding seeds, disease resistant seeds and better farming practice can kind of address that farmer earning problem. But I think in this demand-wise, yes, Sesame is a healthy seed and it will definitely continue to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, I wanted to tell you that tomorrow we have two excellent presentations, one from Equinom and the other one from Agriventis, both on what they are doing to improve the yields and what are the results they are going to share is going to be pretty impressive. Thank you so much, sir, please be there, on stage for one more minute. We will request Mr. Alabi from Starlink to kindly come on stage and do us the honor for our speaker, physically present here and having done a wonderful job, Mr. Aziz Mania from Midtrans International. A round of applause for the speaker here and also for our speaker who has connected online, Mr. Afolabi Hakim, who has presented an excellent case on what can be done to overcome challenges. Really, I was very impressed in terms of the statistics, what he has shown from October 21st to July 22nd at the new port, where there has been a consistent effort in reducing the time. Thank you so much. May I request somebody to bring the memento? Yeah. Sir, 1 minute. Kindly present the memento. Thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for the speakers of discussion 2 on trade challenges. A lot of useful ideas have come, some of which has got solutions, some of which we have to collectively work on. Thank you so much. With that.